The spiral is a same direction split time move. And I think one of the most important things to think about when you start the spiral is where you're gripping your poi and where the poi has to be on your hand. I stopped using double loops because of spirals. If you are holding your leash by a knob or you're pinching it, but you're using the tips of your fingers, the challenge when you start wrapping it around your hand is that it's wrapping on the tip of your hand rather than down here on the wide part of your hand. And as a result, the poi falls off your fingertips. So the very first piece of coaching I like to give people about the spiral is instead of putting it in the tip, you want to let the poi come down into the L, right? So if you think of this as the L of your hand, or the L of your hand, if you look at the right angle between the thumb and the index finger, you want to let it slide from this pinch here down into here before you go into it. That is, in my opinion, the most quintessential element of keeping it from falling off the tip of your hand. Secondary to that, but also relevant, is the angle of your hand. So if I'm doing this and I go into it and I let my hands fall forward like that, the poi is less likely to wrap around the hand. So it can be useful as you are, so again, you're starting in split time, same direction. As you go into it, one hand comes under the other hand. So the hand that's an underhand, in my case, because I'm doing clockwise, it looks anti-clockwise to you. My right hand is doing underhand. It's coming up. It will come underneath the left hand in the wrap. My left hand is going overhand. It will come over the top. But what is also useful is I'm putting my hands at an angle like this. So an upward angle. I don't keep them straight. I keep them tipped up to help keep the poi on the hand. And then the timing really does matter to get it in cleanly. If I were starting from scratch teaching somebody this move, what I would say is the first thing that you want to do is practice the spiral. So if you're using your right hand, you want to, and I'm going to try and move my body out of the way so you can see it, but this would really be happening in front of you like this. So like if you looked at me, it'd be happening right here, but I'm going to try and move my body out of the way so you can see. So if it's clockwise, the right one is coming up, then it's going to come underneath the left hand, and you want to practice stacking them like this so that you do the spiral. And as the spiral goes in, I'll show you this part from the front. As the spiral goes in and you stack them, you want to roll your hand with it so that it comes to a stop on the side of the hand, so that you can reverse it by snapping your hand the other way. That's what gets your exit. Now your poi changed direction, right? So now your right poi is an overhand. So if it's an overhand, it's going to come over the top of the left hand and wrap. And then to go back the other way, you're going to still flick the hand back. So you roll in with it as it's coming to a stop, and you snap it the other way. You roll in with it, but you switch the orientations of the hands. So your hands go like this, and then your hands go like this, and like this. And as they're going this way, you roll with it, snap back. Then it goes this way. Roll with it, snap back. Goes this way. Roll with it, snap back. Roll with it, snap back. The first thing is understanding what to do. The second thing is doing the drill with each hand individually in both directions. And getting accustomed to changing the hand orientation and the snap in and out. Like if you're grabbing your poi at the tip, you also want to practice doing this motion from in the crook of the L. So you're practicing multiple things. One, the hand position. Two, the direction going around, and you want it to go around both hands, right? And you'll notice this went around my thumb. I'm like wrapped in there, okay? Stopping it, snapping it back the other way, then changing direction and switching the orientation of the hands you're this way and you're snapping back, I would practice the snap back and the snap back, and then switch hands and do it with the other hand. And of course, I recommend that you start with your weaker hand. But in both cases, remember the crook of the L going around the hand from the top if it's an overhand, or from the bottom if it's an underhand. Some people recommend palm-to-palm grip. For this move, I do not recommend palm-to-palm grip. I recommend palm to the back of the hand. So rather than your hands meeting like this, I recommend like this. It doesn't work for everybody. It depends on the hand grip that you use. But I have found it is more effective for most people with most grips this way. So you're stacking them always palm down. So you want to remember, once you get it there, whether you're doing it one-handed or the other-handed, it doesn't really matter which hand's on top, but the general idea is they're stacked, they're tilted. I'm going to flatten them so you can see it better. And if you rolled in this, okay, yes, so I would have rolled in, you roll in the direction of the bottom hand. So the bottom hand is pulling you, but then you snap in the direction of the top hand. When you snap, there's for me, what works really well is a separation of the hand. So if I'm stacked like this when I roll in, as I separate the hands, it creates the momentum to pop the two leashes apart from each other to help get it to come out of the motion. Right? So this is the one way. Stack, snap back, stack, snap back, stack, snap back. And you want to remember that you're still in split time even when you snap out of it. Relevant to this one-handed drill, as you are doing it, you want to roll in and then roll out and open. Then roll in and roll out and open. Roll in, roll out. Roll in, roll out. Roll in, roll out. It's not roll in, roll in. Like it's not continuous. You do separate so that you can switch the orientation of the hand. And it can be helpful to some people, depends on your mathematical inclinations. It can be helpful to think of the stack as creating a sine wave, right? You're this way, or this way, or this way, or this way. It can be, may not be. Your mileage may vary. Now, when you're doing the one-handed drill, and you take the poi and you come around, this other hand, you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to move it laterally. Don't do that. The reason you don't want to do that is because in reality, that poi is going to be spinning. So even though you might want to get it the first time like this, just moving it laterally, you want to practice swinging it in as if it's following that sine wave, or exiting out as if it's following that sine wave. Also relevant is the angle of the poi. Unlike something like the air wrap, where it might be beneficial to have a skewed angle like this in order to hook one poi on the other poi, with the spiral, you really want them to be very much in the same plane. Injury prevention thing that I want to say is if you go to town on these, so when I first started learning these, I had a hard time with a particular set of poi, and for whatever reason, I picked up another set of poi that was shorter, but they had a very hard head to them. And what I ended up doing was actually, I got so into it, I ended up bruising my hands. So just check your body and make sure that you're really paying attention to whether or not you're hurting yourself by repeating it so many times. Because while in the short term it may feel really good, it may prevent you from doing anything the next day or two if you bruise yourself up. Curb your enthusiasm appropriately. If you are starting from split time circles in front, one thing that can be helpful is to do an extra little extension as you go into it to come and meet, to give you a little bit more time to get your stack. To even do a bigger circle so that you have more time to get into the stack. So wait. You need to wait when you stack it long enough so that you roll with it at the last second. You only roll in at the very end so that you can snap it back. If you're getting into it and you don't have enough control and your hands start sliding apart, you can't maintain the stack with the two hands. So if you look at my hands, they're really like they're symmetrically in space with each other, right? It's not skewed. It's important to get a solid stack. Bigger extension into the stack. Because right now what you're doing is this like really subtle thing, but you don't have enough control of the move to get it to go around. So if you make a bigger extension going in, then you'll have more time. So you roll and grip, but then you let that slide into the L. Okay, and so then you're pinching here. I changed my grip to this because of spirals, because I couldn't figure out how to do it, and that was the reason. So the reason that I actually got the move was because I had finger loops. I had been doing this business, come out here, but then I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it. And it was because I picked up another set of poi that had knob handles that I got it. So that is what made me switch to knobs.